I forgot why you're not rooting for RHEL anymore. Is that because of they made it all? It's not closed source per se, but yeah, they definitely pissed me off with from a sysadmin point of view. So there's two factions in the Linux community. There's the vocal minority that you hear about on YouTube, and that is your desktop hobbyists. And then you have your IT professionals as the secondary side of things. They're not very vocal. They're not going to really comment on a video. They may watch my videos, but they're not really going to comment. They might make like an elitist comment like, you don't know what you're talking about, or something like that, but that's typically in this realm of things. And those IT professionals, a lot of times, will just look at it and go, meh, like, they look at the Linux desktop community and they don't really take it seriously, I think, a lot of times. I personally am somewhere in between those two factions. I kind of go back and forth between them, and I see the power of Linux desktop and how cool it can be, but also the professional in me is kind of like, yeah, but sometimes it just doesn't work for my needs, and then I have to use something else. So that's kind of what happens to me, but getting back to your point about RHEL or Red Hat, the IT professional in me got really pissed off at how Red Hat just screwed us over on RHEL 8. They basically, if you're not familiar, CentOS went from 7 and then they released CentOS 8. Red Hat bought them out and released CentOS 8. And CentOS always had a 10-year release cycle. And we put that in production in a lot of different places. Me personally, I've made over 100 different CentOS servers. So that's a big deal. That's 100 units I shipped out to various different corporations, government entities. We're talking FEMA. I know he uses it. We're talking ATF. You know, if you know, there's some big things. I built these telephony boxes using CentOS for and shipped them out. You know, some of them are still into use today, and that was shoot almost 10 years ago when I built that. So when you look at it, and let's say I upgraded all those systems to CentOS 8. They're actually still on CentOS 7, which is close to EOL now. Uh, these IT professionals upgraded their systems and they expected 10 years of service. And what they got was 1 year. Red Hat gave them 1 year instead of 10 years. That's the equivalent of saying, hey, I'll sacrifice weeks of work, probably lots of prep work, at least a weekend to do that kind of conversion from CentOS 7 to 8. And now Red Hat screwed me over, and now I have to do it all over again. Well, Red Hat did that to thousands of IT professionals. So that was like several years back. And that's one thing I had a hard time getting past, but I kind of was like, okay, that's okay. I'm doing YouTube now. I don't really have to mess with it. I'm still going to make a Red Hat's the Devil video, and I did back then when they did this, just to speak up for this non-vocal group of IT professionals that got screwed over by Red Hat. But when they did the, hey, you have to have an account and we're not going to allow CentOS or Rocky Linux or Alma Linux or Oracle Linux, which are basically one-to-one bug releases of Red Hat to exist anymore, at that point I was like, yeah, it's just a matter of time before they shake everybody down and force everybody that's using a Red Hat distro to pay them money. And it's obvious they just don't care anything about open source at this point. They're just more concerned about their bottom line, and that's only going to be bad for that community. So any RHEL-based distro, Fedora, Red Hat Linux, CentOS Stream, all of them, they're just dead to me. And that's also making me very hesitant with any Linux company in there. It's very, very hard. Nubara is also a Fedora fork, so it's very difficult for me to recommend any kind of company-backed Linux distro these days, just because companies have gotten so greedy, and I don't want another Windows on my hands. I don't want to spend 5, 10, 20 years of my life just to get screwed over in the end, which was basically what Windows did to me. You know, I think they did it to us all. You know, a lot of people were Windows users once upon a time. And I don't want to see that in the Linux space. So that's why I really don't like, even OpenSUSE is kind of like, it's kind of gross. We got SUSE Foundation, which has not the best track record, but uh, even Rocky Linux, I mean, eventually, I always say it's that I love to use that one Batman quote when it comes to companies. You either die the hero or you live long enough to be the villain. And sadly, that's where a lot of these companies end up. Just wait till they get big enough and then they'll screw you over. And that's typically my thought process. There's a lot of good companies out there, but they're usually really small. And those are the really good ones. I love working for small businesses because I can speak directly to owners. We can make a lot of changes happen. It's really great. But just wait. If they get big enough and they get a board of directors and they start to get, they go public and they have like a stock offering and all these things, you can make a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. This is not a money thing. This is just more of an ethics thing. Just wait. That company will eventually turn evil or turn on you, and it will bite you. And that's the one thing. That's my soapbox rant of the day for that. Ugh. I hope it never happens, and I want the best to happen. But whenever I see a company involvement in anything, whether it's a Linux distro or anything like I'm dealing with in the professional sphere or even in my personal life, I always think, okay, where could this company get me? How could they tie me in? I want to avoid vendor lock-in wherever I can. So that's kind of my thought process. That's why I like Debian and Arch so much, because I know they're community run. We don't have to worry about it. The community is going to take care of us. There's no big company to screw us over. So that's why I love community distros so much. And that's why I kind of anti big company for Linux distros. Yeah. Or use your own distro. Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at on all that.